Hi, welcome to SBR Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. Today is Thursday, April 28th, and we are talking with MLB handicapper Ian Cameron. We're taking a look at the opening lines for the baseball game for tomorrow, Friday, April 29th. Ian Cameron, thanks for being back with us. We have a full slate of games, and the first game I want to ask about is Cleveland at Philly. And Ian Cameron, do you know who the most profitable team in the National League is to date? Number one in the ROI standings in the National League?
Yeah, we're about to talk about them.
It's Philadelphia. Unbelievable. Can you believe that? I don't know who saw that coming at the beginning of the year, but I certainly don't. But I definitely got on that train when I saw sort of felt the train coming into town. And on Friday, the opening line, Philly's a big home underdog, right, against Cleveland. Not the kind of team that is undervalued. Definitely a team that I feel comfortable betting against as a big road favorite. With Kluber against Morgan, Philly at plus 150, bet online 155. What do you think?
Well, with Corey Kluber, we've talked about this guy a couple of times, and it's been tough to make money backing Corey Kluber when he's been on the mound with this Cleveland Indians team. It's just that he's been so priced so richly in the betting markets last season, and it's carried over as well into this year. Well, you're 1-3, basically, if you've bet on Corey Kluber. In his 4 starts so far this season with the Cleveland Indians. And again, he's being priced like the ace and a top-tier pitcher, which he absolutely was last season with this Indians team. It's been a little bit more of a spotty going of it for him here in April. He's given up 3 runs or more in 3 of those 4 starts. Much better last time out, though, at Detroit. Maybe a sign that Corey Kluber is going to settle in and start pitching more like he did for the majority of last season. It was a terrific outing. Detroit can hit a little bit, and he held them to 1 run on 2 hits and 8 innings, no walks, 10 strikeouts, so dominant showing for Corey Kluber. And now we see if he can carry that over here to this start against the Philadelphia Phillies. A Phillies team that, let's give them some credit. As of this recording, they've won 5 of their last 6 games. They're cashing some big underdog tickets. I mean, just in the last 6 games, we've seen them cash as plus 150 underdogs, plus 170 underdogs. Jeremy Hellickson last night, how about being a plus 185 underdog? No problem. He goes in and shuts out the Washington Nationals in a 3-0 victory. So there's no doubt Philadelphia Phillies offering some value, 5 units to profit, a little over the 5 units of profit if you've been betting on the Phillies in every single game this season. So definitely value on Phillies in this game. Morgan's a little bit of a tricky proposition for me to trust, but again, you got that lefty pitcher that he is, and that sometimes can be troublesome for the Cleveland Indians, who've had long-term issues at times hitting southpaws at a consistent rate. So maybe this is a chance for the Phillies to once again be a live underdog. But again, caution that with their bullpen being so flammable, I guess you could say, and the chance that maybe an early lead could dissipate. So I'm not saying don't bet on Philly for the full game, but put some 5-inning line in your pocket as well for some insurance. If you look at the Phillies as an underdog here, and I do think they hold value, you can bet them for the full game, but put some of that 5-inning line in your pocket as well, because that bullpen can be very, very give you a heart attack in the latter innings.
Yeah, we'll see how long Philly can keep this up. But as of right now, Philadelphia Phillies, number 1 in the ROI standings in baseball. Very impressive. All right. The next one I want to ask about, Ian Cameron. This is a tough one. You ready for it? You can handle the tough ones, right?
Oh, always, yeah.
Always, okay. KC at Seattle, right? Now, Felix Hernandez, what to make of him? He has had walk issues in a small sample size this year, but he's had some issues. He's lost a little bit of, he's lost a tick on his fastball, and he's had some walk issues on the road. He did have 1 start at home, though, which was great, which was vintage Felix, 10 strikeouts. It was just 1 start, though. So what to expect from here, not exactly sure. And KC just got swept on the road at the Angels. So they're clearly as good of a team as they are in certain ways fundamentally. They're clearly having some issues winning and getting offensive production on the road. What do we expect from Seattle here? What do we expect from KC here offensively? And is it worth taking Seattle at the line right now, minus 155 to minus 165? Not a huge line, but a pretty healthy favorite line if you want to bet on Seattle. What do you think, Ian Cameron?
Yeah, I've been pounding my head against the wall a couple times this week, betting on the Royals against the Angels. Hasn't exactly worked out well, and you got to be concerned a little bit right now for Kansas City. Yeah, me too. You know what I did? I tried to get cute, and I took KC on the second half lines in those games. That didn't work out well either. Yeah, because in a lot of those games, especially the first 2, you're looking at blowout games. The Angels had a pretty sizable lead in the latter innings in both of those games, and the Royals just didn't have that sense of urgency that they were still right in the game and could mount a comeback. They sort of, I don't want to say they quit and they packed it in, but they just sort of went through the motions in the latter innings, down by 4 or 5 runs, I think was the case in both of those first two games against the Angels. But I don't want to talk anyone out of looking at Royals second half bets in the future, because if the game is close, and that's key, the game's got to be close. I mean, if you're going to have Kansas City in the second half and they're down 7-1 in the sixth inning, that's a little bit of a different story. But if the game is close, you got to like that back end of the Royals bullpen to get you there with a winning ticket in the second half of these games. Didn't work out then, but don't totally abandon that thought process moving forward. As for this game, Kansas City taking on Seattle, Kansas City's not hitting right now, not as well as they could, and not as well as we're used to seeing them hit. And certainly it's a lineup that is not going to be a home run hitting type of lineup. They're not a big extra base hit kind of team. They're just put the ball in play, singles, doubles, those kind of things, advance the runner. They're a very fundamentally sound hitting team, but they've definitely scuffling right now. There's no question. I mean, they had lost all three games against the LA Angels, held to 7 runs in those 3 games combined. So there's definitely some concerns here being able to hit right now for this Royals team. Now the question is, can they hit Felix Hernandez, who has been admittedly a little bit more hittable so far this season? You're right, the walk rate is definitely not what you want to see from Felix Hernandez. 15 walks in 25 innings, very atypical of him. The strikeout numbers are still there.
But all that was on the road. His one home start was vintage Felix, though.
It was. And he definitely has a level of comfort. There's no question pitching here at Safeco Field. He's been pitching in this ballpark now for upwards of a decade. So he knows this ballpark like the back of his hand. He knows how to pitch to it and use it to his advantage. There's no denying that whatsoever. Let's take a look. That first home start, against Oakland. Now, again, Oakland, not a great hitting team, but 7 strong innings, shutout baseball, 2 walks to 10 strikeouts. We'll see if Felix can get it back on the tracks here. Again, I'm a little worried with this Kansas City team right now. And Chris Medlin's not exactly the guy I'd be looking at betting on for this Royals team right now. I mean, I like Volquez a little bit. Chris Young, if you get him in a spacious ballpark, as long as he can avoid the home run ball and you get him in a bigger, more spacious park, he can pitch well. There's definitely guys in this rotation that I trust more than Chris Medlin. Chris Medlin's gone back and forth from being a starter to a reliever and back again. And he really, to me, has middling stuff for a starting pitcher. Last time out against Baltimore, didn't get out of the 4th inning, 7 runs on 9 hits allowed, 3 walks, 2 strikeouts. That's not something you like to see. The Seattle lineup, is a little bit spotty as well, but, we've seen signs of them being able to hit, and they do have some power bats that could cause some problems here for Chris Medlin in this game. I don't think the price is very generous here with Seattle by any stretch of the imagination, considering, you're still talking the Royals, World Series champs in this kind of price range. Value on Kansas City, but I don't like the current form I'm seeing from Kansas City right now, and that's going to leave me on the sidelines for this one.
All right, interesting. Thanks for tackling that tough one, Ian Cameron. And now I want to ask you about another tough one. That's okay, right? 2 tough ones in one call?
That's okay. We can talk about any game. Good,
all right.
Bad,
the
tough,
Yankees
anything.
at Boston, right? Boston is a small home underdog on the opening line, and it's Owens against Tanaka. Now, Tanaka hasn't been lights out, but he has been pretty effective and efficient and, pretty reliable. And then Owens is, a big lefty with a lot of potential, a ton of potential, but he did struggle badly in his first start this year. The question is, how much will he improve in this start? And then the Yankees have been a little bit overvalued. Their lineup has been productive at times, but in general, kind of sluggish. And Boston, of course, has been extremely productive offensively. So it's tempting to want to take Boston here as a small home dog. It's just that the starting pitching matchup clearly favors the Yankees, or does it? Tough game. What's your take on it, Ian Cameron?
Yeah, I like the "or does it" part of that question you gave out there, because Henry Owens is not a dominant lefty by any stretch of the imagination, but I've seen some very feeble at-bats and some very weak swings from this Yankees lineup against the Southpaws. The lefty pitching has been a big-time issue for them early on in the season, really, and it was the same thing last year. The Yankees weren't exactly a prolific hitting team against lefties last year either. 234 average, 2.89 runs per game for the Yankees against lefties this season. It's been a problematic profile for this lineup, and this lineup overall really has not really gotten the job done. And and it doesn't hurt, and it doesn't help, obviously, when you've got aging Mark Teixeira on the team. You've got Alex Rodriguez, who I think his best days long behind him, even at the plate. He's gotten off to a slow start this season. I think there's just a lot of transition going on with this Yankees team. They've still got some old players on the team. They're trying to transition to more of a younger group, and I think it's going to take this team time. And as a result, they're just not hitting the baseball right now. They're not the old Bronx Bombers that we're used to to seeing back in their Joe Torre World Series heyday. That's for sure. I mean, you look at the last 2 games at Texas, that's a hard ballpark to be stuck to just 3 runs in 2 games combined in Texas. And sure enough, that's what happened with this Yankees team. Shut down by A.J. Griffin, shut down by Martin Perez in those last 2 games against Texas. A bad sign for me with this Yankees lineup. Now, the question with Henry Owens is, what are you going to get from him?
Right.
You know, his first start of the season came last Sunday night against Houston. He really labored. 4 walks, 4 strikeouts, 3 runs on 5 hits, and 3.1 innings of work. So yeah, I mean, from a pitching matchup standpoint, the Yankees have struggled against lefties, but I'm not sure Henry Owens is anything more than a mediocre lefty. So we'll see if that means the Yankees are able to produce a little bit more against this particular southpaw than they have in general against lefties this season. Henry Owens, too, I want to sit back just to see what he can do in this particular start, but he's still a guy don't have a lot of confidence in. Masahiro Tanaka, I mean, he is pitching well. I don't know how he does it. He doesn't necessarily throw hard, but he throws that slop, that poo, slings that poo at the plate, basically, but he's getting batters to hit and swing and miss at his stuff right now, and you can't complain with the results. 4 starts so far this season for Tanaka, 2.92 ERA, 8 earned runs and 24.2 innings of work, 6 walks to 23 strikeouts. He's getting people to swing and miss, even though it's not the prettiest arsenal of pitches you'll see, and there's concerns that his next shoulder injury could land him on the DL for a long period of time. He's had issues staying healthy, but as of right now, he's getting outs and he's winning games. I mean, the Yankees have won each of his last 3 starts. Very tough handicap here for me, in my opinion. This is not a game I'm probably going to get involved with. You know, Tanaka's not a guy I'm overly anxious to go against, but, you know, and Henry Owens should have a matchup edge against this Yankee lineup, which has not fared well against lefties, but I just don't think Owens is anything more than a mediocre lefty, making him hard to trust even against this Yankee team.
Yeah, tricky game there. Thanks for giving your always insightful and thorough analysis, Ian Cameron. All right, those are 3 games that I want to ask about specifically. 12 other games on the card, though. What else do you have to bring to our attention? Possible betting value that we might look for tomorrow.
Yeah, we got a big-time National League Series this weekend. The Washington Nationals and the St. Louis Cardinals going to face off at Busch Stadium. Projected starting pitching matchup for Friday, April 29th, is Steven Strasburg taking on Mike Leake. Mike Leake, to me, a bet against guy. On paper, this should be an edge for the Nationals and for Steven Strasburg. When you look at Mike Leake, fly ball pitcher, you don't like what I've seen. I don't like what I've seen from him so far. 5.64 ERA. Nearly 3 walks per 9 innings, only 6.8 strikeouts per 9 innings. Look at his ground ball rate this season. It was 51.8 last year. It's all the way down to 42.9. So this guy is inducing a lot stronger contact than he used to. And how about the swinging strike rate on Mike Leake so far this season? It's a career low for him. I mean, he's never been a high strike guy. He's never been a guy that's missed a ton of bats, but still, we saw a swinging strike rate in his career with the Reds, you know, where it was around 7 or in the high 6% rate. It's down to 5.3% here in 2016. He's just not missing many bats. That could be problematic here against the Washington Nationals. Steven Strasburg, on the other hand, he's about as healthy probably as he's been in a long time, and he's pitched very well to start the campaign here in 2016, a 2.17 ERA. His FIP and his XFIP right around that same ERA number, which tells you there's really not much fluky about the way he's pitched. He's been good. Over 9 strikeouts per 9 innings, just 2 walks per 9 innings. Ground ball rate's gone way up in contrast to Mike Leake. It was 42% last year. It's up to 55%. So he's inducing weaker contact, getting weak contact from opposing hitters, keeping the ball down and inducing ground ball outs as a result. So lots of positives from Steven Strasburg, who, of course, dealt with his share of struggles and injury issues at times. So Washington being installed as a road favorite here on the overnight line in this game, not a surprise to me. I would lean to the Nationals here to pick up this victory. And it's a bit of an early season litmus test, Peter, for both of these teams. The Nationals have gotten off to this great start, and you don't want to make too much of a big deal of strength of schedule in baseball, but it's very strength of schedule related for the Washington Nationals. They've hardly played anybody good so far this season. They've feasted on the Phillies a bunch. They've feasted on the Braves a bunch. I mean, there's not been a whole litany of quality opponents that the Nationals have faced to get to this 14-6 record. So this is going to be a good test on the road, Busch Stadium, a good St. Louis team, good series to test how far they've gone. And then Washington plays Kansas City and the Cubs after St. Louis. So we're going to find out in these next 3 series just what the Washington Nationals are all about with this Cardinals, Royals, and Cubs trifecta that they've got on the horizon. And as for St. Louis, their one step up in class series was at home against the Cubs. They lost 2 or 3 to that in that series. So a little bit of doubts too about St. Louis's ability right now to step up in class. So this should be a fantastic series. 2 teams looking to make a statement. But as for Friday night's game, Peter, I think the Washington Nationals, from a starting pitching standpoint, give Strasburg the edge over Mike Leake.
Yeah, I mean, Washington may have had a relatively easy strength of schedule so far, but positive ROI is positive ROI, Ian Cameron. And mentioned before that Philly is number 1 in the ROI standings in the National League, but Washington has been very profitable in the double digits, and they are number 3 behind the Cubs. Ian Cameron, thanks so much, and we'll talk to you again very soon.
All right, thanks, Peter. Enjoy the games and good luck.